Hey, what's up, guys? So today I'm going to be doing something I don't usually do on my channel too often. Usually I'm at live gameplay, but today I'm going to be talking about the Destiny update that was recently released on February 14th. Kind of just, changing the way PvP or Crucible is played. I'm doing some changes, especially with the meta and how things are balanced, and, just changing it around just so we can have a different, play style and how the Crucible is played. So I guess in this video I'm just gonna tell you the things I like and the things I don't like, and how I feel like the future of this update is gonna go, especially with the meta. So let's get right into it. So I'm gonna start off with the things I like. I think hand cannons, I'm really glad they brought that back to the year one crispiness of the hand cannons. I think that it's gonna be a lot of fun to use it. I definitely played a lot with the Hawk Moon recently. Not that the Hawk Moon was ever any bad. I don't think that the hand cannons were bad at all. It's just they kind of brought it back to where they were the prime weapons to use, which I'm happy about because I love hand cannon gameplay. So feeling really good about that. Another thing is assault rifles. So assault rifles, they gave it a precision buff. It's not really that much precision buff. It went from a 1.25 to a 1.3. That's a very minuscule buff. I can say right now I've definitely used a lot of assault rifles or ARs, whatever you want to call them, in the Crucible, especially in my live stream. You're gonna see a lot of gameplay of that right now on screen. I think it's really fun, but later on, when everything's set in stone as the meta starts to form, you're gonna see auto rifles going back down to the bottom of the totem pole, because they're really not. I mean, yes, they might have buffed it a little bit, but compared to everything else, it's still not on par. But the gap between all the other weapons is kind of like closing. So even if you want to use an auto rifle, you can and still compete. But it's just, like I said, it's just not gonna be as good as the other weapons. So glad they did a buff, but later on, it's pretty much going to be the same thing. So I'm glad they did something to the auto rifles. I kind of wish they did a little bit more, especially with the perks. But, I'll take it as is. I'm having fun with it right now when the Crucible is starting to, still get used to this update, which I'm very happy for. Another one is the gap between weapons. Now, from the last update with the meta, there's a huge gap between meta weapons and non-meta weapons. Like, it was very hard for unique and diverse players to shine, because the Clever Dragon Matador was going to shut you down anyway, no matter what you did. Unless you're like a fantastic player with other weapons, you're basically going to get shut down. Like, the Crucible was dominated by Clever Dragons and Matadors. So they kind of shortened the gap so you can kind of compete and still with unique play styles and have a fun time. So I'm glad they shortened that gap so they could have a little bit more diversity and uniqueness in the Crucible with gameplay. So I'm really happy about that. I'm glad they closed the gap just a little bit so we can see more people shine while being unique with their own game styles. So another one that I'm going to talk about is the Juggernaut Shield. Now, the Juggernaut Shield had to be the dumbest thing I've seen in the last update, was the shotgun mooring with the Juggernaut Shield. Now, if you guys don't, well, hopefully, you guys probably know this. If you're going in the Crucible, especially in Trials, that's basically all you've seen. You've seen people go ape with Juggernaut Shoddy. It was kind of like the most effective tactic available, hence the meta. So I'm glad they nerfed that, and now if you're midair, it kind of shuts off. But they kind of have a workaround, which is shoulder charge, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So I'm glad they nerfed Juggernaut a little bit. I think it's kind of balanced now. It's it's still viable and still usable, but not as as it once was before, especially with shotties. Now let's go into things I don't like, and that is the special ammo change. I don't know what Bungie was doing. Now, I don't mind them taking away special ammo, especially when we die, because it kind of like brings a huge emphasis on primary gunfights, which I'm perfectly fine with. I have always been a heavy believer that Destiny should have been primaries mostly, and then second special or secondary, whatever you want to call them, should always be there, but not as a focus as the gunplay. So I'm glad they took that away, but the way they did it wasn't the smartest. Now, Bungie, if you're listening, which I highly doubt you are, but whatever, I'm just gonna say this as it is, because this is how I feel. If you're gonna take special away from specials, or certain specials, you have to take it away for all. You can't leave one by itself and take the other ones away, because then you're gonna see one just being completely unfair compared to the others. I'm not saying that it's completely unusable for others to compete, but you let the sidearms alone. I don't know what you're thinking there. I mean, just from the update alone, sidearms have skyrocketed in the Crucible, and it's kind of like the most used special currently. And I really don't understand what you're thinking. Like I said before, if you're gonna take special away from special, do it for all weapons and not leave one behind, because if you do that, you're just gonna see a bigger gap between other special weapons, and you know, it's just, yeah, you need to fix that. So it's either bring special back for all weapons or take special away from sidearms. I don't know what you're doing with that, but I still love you, Bungie. Another thing was the shotgun nerf. I guess this ties into the special ammo thing. I don't think shotguns should have been nerfed. Yes, they were really powerful, but that just kind of means that, you know, the other weapons need to be buffed a little bit. I felt like, you know, with the special ammo nerf, you know, being taken away from every single special except sidearms, I think they should have just left shotguns alone and buffed some other specials to bring it up to par with the shotguns. But no, they just took away special ammo and they nerfed the shotgun, which makes it unusable. I mean, I was actually playing on live stream where I think I was like not even 2 feet away from the guy, up in midair. I aimed down sight with rangefinder. Now that they, you know, nerfed it to like 1.25 seconds or something like that, it's ridiculous. I was really close to the guy aiming down sight, and I think all my bullets went right through him. None of them hit, no damage at all. So, you know, shotguns are still usable, but God, they offer more RNG bullets than anything else. I mean, since they nerfed the magnetism and, you know, the in-air accuracy, you know, like I said, still love you, Bungie, but some of the things you did aren't the smartest. You know, like I said, if you were taking with a special ammo, you should just left, you know, shotguns alone. Just bring some of the other specials up to shotgun par. But you know, it is what it is. We'll play with it. We'll have fun. We're lovers of the game. So another thing is the truth nerf. I don't know why they did nerf the truth. Yes, it was the king of heaviest for PvP, but I guess, like everybody knows, you only get heavy once per game, and you know, it's easy to shut down. I mean, there's a lot of ways to get past the truth, especially if you're Titan with, you know, Twilight Garrison. You could probably shade step and jump out of you know, a truth rocket range. Even though that the velocity and the blast rate is pretty high, there's still ways to counter it. I have a couple machine guns that were able to counter truth, so I feel like it wasn't, you know, too bad of a thing. But since you nerfed the ammo, it hurts a lot of the PvEers, I guess, because I like to use the truth for PvE, and you guys nerfed that for me, so I'm very upset about that. But that's a different thing. Moving on to Blade Dancers. God, you guys destroyed Blade Dancers again. I don't know what you're doing, Bungie. If you're gonna nerf Blade Dancer, nerf the skip grenades. That's all you had to do. All this other stuff that you're doing with Blade Dancers, I don't know. Maybe there's a guy at the playtest that is just really good, and maybe you feel like Blade Dancer's OP, but that's definitely not the case. Just because that one guy's good in the playtest doesn't mean everybody else is a god with Blade Dancers. But you screwed up on Blade Dancers once again. You made him bad. Once again, just the only thing you had nerf on Blade Dancers was skip grenades. And if you're going to nerf skip grenades, you have to balance it out somehow by maybe either buffing the duration of Blade Dancer just by a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 seconds. I mean, that's still something that's good. Because obviously most people that use Blade Dancer are only in there for the skip grenades and not really for the super. So, you know, I feel like there's better ways to balance out Blade Dancers. But what you're doing now, not the greatest, especially with Quick Drop. Don't know what you're doing there. Now that we're going to segue over to, from Blade Dancers, we're going to talk about Blink. You guys killed Blink big time. It was bad before. Nobody really used it. I mean, yes, it was probably the most powerful jump in year 1, but it died down drastically in year 2. Not a lot of people used it. And now, since this update, you basically made it impossible to use. It's pretty much dead. I mean, you shorten the time to, you know, for Blink, and then every time you blink, you lose radar and your HUD for a little bit. I don't know what you're doing there. If you don't want Blink to be in the game, just take it out. Don't make it so you put it in the corner and you laugh at it. That's just not cool, man. If you don't want Blink in the game, just take it out. Don't make it completely dead where people are just going to laugh at it. That was dumb. I think we all know about Hungering Blade and the effects it had on the other subclasses or the other classes, and pretty much made them dead. Like, you know, with Void Walker, Sunbreaker, all that stuff. You know, we can talk about that, but obviously that one was a mistake on their part. They've already, you know, acknowledged that was a mistake. You know, it was an accident. They didn't mean to do it. They'll probably do a hot fix out soon, so I'm not really going to talk about that too much, about the whole Hungering Blade incident, how they kind of applied it into everything. So I guess that's another thing. Now I guess I'm gonna go on my in between before I actually stop talking about this. Armor variants, I don't really agree with. I'm kind of iffy on this. Armor variants, if you don't know, if you have higher armor, you have lower health. And if you have lower armor, you have higher health. So it kind of makes it even, I guess. I don't really understand this. I know that as a Titan on live stream recently, I was actually going in for a strike, and this guy was able to one-shot me out of a super. I was trying to smash him. He one-shotted me out of it. Wasn't even hurt at all. He didn't even have a high-impact sniper. I can't remember what it was. If I can find it, I'll put it on Twitter for you guys to see. But I don't know if it was like a fluke that he somehow one-shotted me out of a super, or if it was something else. But I feel like there's kind of been a glitch or bug with the armor variants. I don't really understand why they did that. But, you know, with the armor variants, they also did it for shoulder charge. So now shoulder charge is a one-hit melee for anything, no matter if your armor is really high, you can't tank those anymore. I felt that this was a dumb buff because I felt like shoulder charges were in a perfect place where they're at. There was nothing really underpowered about them. There wasn't anything too overpowered about them. They're there if you want to use it. And now they kind of made it really strong, and I think you're going to see a lot more shoulder charges in the Crucible. So if you guys don't know, shoulder charges can kind of zip around corners really fast, especially if they lock onto you, and they can do complete 180 on you. So like, let's say if you're able to juke out a shoulder charge, it can somehow complete 180 on you and still kill you. Now it's a guaranteed one hit. No matter what you do, it's a guaranteed one hit from shoulder charge. So you can thank Bungie for that. Don't be mean about it. Just, you can thank them that shoulder charges are going to be more relevant in the Crucible now. Even though I don't agree with that, I don't know why they did that. But, you know, this is just my opinions. You know, this is just how I feel about it. But other than that, I guess I'm going to say how I feel about this update. I think it's great. I think this update is really great. Obviously, you know, with everything, there's always going to be some downsides. I think they're going to be doing some hot fixes to fix some of those downsides. So I'm not really too worried about it. I think this update is going to be phenomenal because it plays a huge part in primary gunfights, which I think Destiny should have been in from the first place. So I'm very happy about that. So I have to say that I'm a fan of this update. There's some things I don't like, but and that goes with everything. You can't, nothing's perfect, so I'm gonna take it as is. I'm definitely gonna enjoy it as I am now. Think everything's a lot of fun. How do I feel like the meta is gonna go? I feel like the meta is going to be kind of dominated by hand cannons. There's going to be some other weapons in the mix. I think that pulse rifles are still going to be a viable option, especially in competitive. You're going to see a lot more sidearms combo, especially pulse rifle sidearms. I think that's going to be a huge part. You're going to see a lot of aggression. That's all I'm going to say is you're going to see a lot of aggression from hand cannons rushing in. You're probably going to see more gunslingers come back to the mix. I feel like gunslingers are going to play a huge part, especially with the trip mines and incendiary grenades. But I think that throwing knives is what is going to make them more relevant again, is because of the long range, solar damage stuff. So you're going to see more of that. Strikers are still going to be a huge thing still because of shoulder charge. Juggernaut's still viable. Like I said, they kind of just made it even. So you pretty much everything is balanced in some sort of way, besides some of the things that are broken, like I mentioned. But everything seems pretty solid, and I'm gonna look forward to the meta because I'm definitely a fan of hand cannon gameplay, and I think it's gonna be very aggressive, very fast paced, and I think it's gonna be very rush heavy, like it's been in the past, but just not as one-sided with pulse rifles and shotguns as it once was. So you're gonna see a little bit more diversity and uniqueness in the Crucible. It's still gonna be very aggressive, but that's how I see the meta turning out to be. But like I said, this is all my opinions on how I feel about this. I could be completely wrong. If you have different opinions and different stuff that you feel that is different than mine, then you can leave that in the comments below. But other than that, just tell me how you think the meta is going to shape up. How do you feel it's going to play out? Also, how are you liking the update? If you're liking it or not, I would definitely like to hear that. But other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll be returning to my regular live funny gameplay that I usually do just for the fun of it. But other than that, thank you guys for watching once again, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.